making the news at this time. The Auditor General has flagged a number of concerns regarding the operational practices of the Housing Development Corporation. According to her most recent report, Auditor General Jaiwanti Ramdas revealed that monies earmarked for housing development were instead diverted to other expenditures, including routine maintenance activities such as grass cutting, drainage works, and waste management. The Auditor General's 2025 report highlights instances in which the Housing Development Corporation's expenditure was not aligned with the original purpose for which funds were approved, raising concerns about compliance with established financial guidelines. The report noted that funds designated for housing development were, in some cases, redirected to meet routine operational costs. The Auditor General cautioned that this practice could undermine the HDC's capacity to fully meet its housing delivery mandate. Additionally, the report identified deficiencies in internal controls and record-keeping, underscoring the need for stronger systems to support effective oversight and accountability. The Auditor General also pointed to ongoing financial pressures faced by the corporation, including outstanding liabilities and the sustained operational costs associated with housing delivery. As the state's primary agency responsible for providing affordable housing, the HDC continues to operate in an environment where demand for housing exceeds available supply. The findings detailed in the Auditor General's report are expected to inform efforts to strengthen financial management, improve operational efficiency, and enhance overall governance within the housing sector. In more news, a total of 51 new police vehicles, including 26 electric units, were officially delivered to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service on Monday. The handover coincided with the launch of the TTPS Active Directed Patrol Initiative, an effort aimed at enhancing public safety and boosting operational efficiency across the country. The National Operations Fusion Center, officially commissioned in December, is now at the core of a new policing strategy designed to modernize how officers patrol and respond in real time. On Monday, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service formally launched the Active Directed Patrol Initiative, a data-driven approach that brings multiple police units together under a single coordinated system. Former Acting Commissioner of Police, McDonald Jacob, explained that the Fusion Center will operate as a central command hub using advanced technologies to detect, monitor, and respond to criminal activity.
We have tools like the facial and vehicle recognition, CCTV surveillance system, wanted and suspected persons monitoring, GPS monitoring. That means to say that the entire GPS system in the police vehicles throughout the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service could be accommodated there.
Commissioner Guevara noted that the initiative is the first of its kind in the Caribbean and Latin America.
The Active Directed Grid Patrol Initiative is the latest in a series of strategic policy directives aimed at bringing modern policing to Trinidad and Tobago, and today we add another historic milestone. For the first time in the Caribbean and Latin America, a police department is launching a pilot project to integrate electric vehicles into its patrol regime.
Minister of Homeland Security Roger Alexander said the rollout represents long overdue progress in policing. In sport, Trinidad and Tobago's senior men's football team is scheduled to take on Russia in an international friendly on June 9th at the Kaliningrad Stadium, a venue that hosted 4 matches during the 2018 FIFA World Cup. A release from TTFA Media indicated that the fixture forms part of the team's preparations for the upcoming CONCACAF Nations League campaign in September and is one of several international friendlies being arranged as head coach Derek King continues shaping the national squad. The release further stated that the match presents another significant test for TNT against experienced opposition and offers the players a valuable opportunity to gain exposure in a demanding international environment. The encounter will also carry special significance for Spartak Moscow's Levi Garcia, who has made a name for himself professionally in Russia. And that's what's making the news this morning. But joining us right now is Virmala Balkaran, the host of Trinidad and Tobago Today. Good morning, Virmala, and happy Tuesday. It's Tuesday.
Good morning, Carrie. Or should I say morning, morning?
Morning, 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 morning.
How are you today?
I'm quite well. I'm doing pretty good today. I slept better. I don't feel so tired, you know, no more Monday blues, you know, when you come from the weekend into the Monday. Yeah.
Listen, I woke up this morning thinking, wow, what a difference can a great night of sleep make?
The world of difference. The world of difference.
I woke up this morning feeling so much more recharged and ready to tackle the day.
Right.
Carrie, I've been seeing a lot happening on social media, just, airing out that I show Speed. For some reason I said Speedy yesterday. I don't know why I renamed the guy. But we're talking about that visit and what it really meant for Trinidad and Tobago culturally. And at the same time, there were other parallel opinions about Trinidad and Tobago.
I wouldn't say parallel. Okay, let's address the elephant in the room. Mr. Killer yesterday made some, over the past couple of days when Speed was in Grenada, made some comments about Trinidad and Trinidad's carnival being commercialized and stuff. And, there a few things come to mind one time. The first thing is that we are one Caribbean. We should be standing together and supporting each other and having the best of things to say about each other, because in contrast, when Speed came to Trinidad, there was nobody trying to bash any of the other Caribbean countries. So that is something that I think we need to really keep our mind on. And, we are one Caribbean, we are one people. Yes, we have slightly different backgrounds and histories and whatnot, and we have something in each country that makes each one special.
Yeah, and even that visit to Trinidad really put Trinidad on the map. I mean, we've always been on the map, and it really added to that. And it goes to show that if I Show Speed can come to Trinidad and think that, he thought, I believe that the article said he loves everything and everything is so great, then we really do have the blessed opportunity to live in such an amazing country. And I hope we wake up every single day thinking that and being grateful for that.
And one of the comments that Mr. Killer made was that, again, Trinidad's carnival is so commercialized. However, if you had looked on the stream, you would see that on the ground we had traditional characters. We had Moko Jumbies. We had people doing kalinda, stick fighting. We had Dame Lorraine. We had many of our traditional elements of our carnival. And not just the beads and bikinis, as we like to call it, the pretty mask that way, but that was also included because it is a big part of what we do here in Trinidad and Tobago.
I looked at some commentary from another social media content creator, and he basically said they only had a few hours to really make all of this happen, as in to showcase everything and to give this guy a taste of Trinidad and Tobago in such a short space of time. So they did the best that they could. We say thank you for that. I mean, it's over now, but there will be a lasting impact. There was so much light being shone on Trinidad and Tobago, and I think we just need to take the good out of that. But Carrie, we'll actually continue to talk about that inside the show today. We are joined by that content creator as well, so we will continue to discuss that issue and so much more on the show.
All right, looking forward to it, Virmala.
All right, talk soon.
All right, we will. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
When we come back, the Trinidad and Tobago Today morning show gets going after this break.
Your world moves fast, so do we. TTT News brings you the people, events, and issues that matter most. Stay informed, stay ahead. TTT News, every night at 7. TTT News, committed, accurate, relevant.
Hi everybody, I am Leah.
And I'm Dion.
And we are
The Duncans.
Listen, we're here to tell you about a project the Lord has given to us called the Marriage Confessional. It is geared toward married couples, those that are on the road to marriage, and those that want to get married one day.
So join us on TTT and on Facebook and YouTube at TTT Live Online.
The Marriage Confessional, only on TTT.
I'm Jamila Bannister, host of the Socially Safe podcast, the new TTPS podcast where we share real stories, teach real lessons, and create real impact. From online safety and youth crime to community policing and personal responsibility, we go beyond the headlines and talk about what's happening in our communities with the officers and experts who are on the front lines. Because safety starts with awareness, conversation, and action. Tune in to the Socially Safe podcast on the TTPS YouTube channel, listen on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. Don't miss it.
Watch on TTT, Mondays, 6 p.m. Tuesdays, 1:10 p.m.
Barcelona drawing the game, not winning their first set of game. Worried, concerned.
Emotional damage is his fantasy.
What a wonderful finish.
You see it, stop. Let me come again. One more time.
Up for this exciting challenge and confident about your business? If you are, the 1020 feature is just what we do. It's where you give your customers 10 reasons in 20 seconds why they should shop by you. This fun-filled feature will be captured, packaged, and aired on television and promoted on social media simultaneously. Small, medium, and large businesses call or WhatsApp 764-3378 or 313-4215. Let's feature your business. 1020 with Junior K. It's affordable, effective, and fun.
Tuesday, 28th April 2026. The time now, it is 6:11 a.m. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago and the world. I'm Virmala Balkaran and welcome to Trinidad and Tobago Today. Well, let's take a look now at what's trending this morning. As loved ones of WPC Anushka Eversley said their final goodbyes, police revealed the full scale of weapons stolen in the deadly heist. While investigators are saying 114 pistols, 1 revolver, 6 shotguns, 2 MPX submachine guns, 173 magazines, and more than 4,300 rounds of ammunition were taken from the San Fernando Municipal Police Station. And 3 men, including one of Eversley's colleagues, have since been charged with murder, robbery, and illegal possession of firearms and ammunition. They are Municipal Police Officer Javon Biggs Cooper, construction worker Kwame Arnold, and scrap iron dealer Nicholas Nico Ramdas, all of Claxton Bay, and all in their 20s. All 3 have been remanded into custody, and the matter has been adjourned to October 15th, with investigations continuing. And the Tobago Division has embarked on a series of training programs aimed at enhancing the quality of service delivered by officers and strengthening operational preparedness. Officers have already received training in use of force, customer service, vehicle stop and search procedures, and firearms competency. Specialized training has also been conducted in traffic and defensive driving, including motorcycle operations and escort duties. Well, the initiative is ongoing, with officers currently undergoing further training in court processes and prosecution as the division continues to invest in professionalism, accountability, and excellence in service delivery. And now to some international news. A California man has been charged with attempting to assassinate U.S. President Donald Trump in an incident that has sparked a White House security review. Cole Thomas Allen, 31, who was also charged with 2 firearms offenses when he appeared in court in Washington, D.C. on Monday. He did not enter a plea. Now, he was carrying a semi-automatic handgun, a pump-action shotgun, and 3 knives as he charged past a security checkpoint at the White House Correspondents Association dinner on Saturday. A Secret Service agent was hit but not seriously wounded. Well, another beautiful day has begun, and wherever you are this morning, thank you for being with us. Coming up inside the show, we chat with political analyst Dr. Mukesh Bastow, who says that if general elections were called right now, the UNC would again defeat the PNM. Also, we take a look at firearms trafficking with the top cop, and later on, we're joined by Shamla Maraj for Redefining Normal. You know what to do. Grab a cup of coffee and settle in. Trinidad and Tobago Today has begun.
client deserves expertise, integrity, and guidance they can trust. At Camino Realty International, we deliver integrated real estate solutions, sales, rentals, property management, and project development. Driven by excellence, transparency, and innovation, we protect value, create opportunity, and build lasting success. Because real estate isn't just about buildings. For more information on our services, log on to CaminoRealty.com or follow us on social media at Camino Realty TT. Camino Realty International, elevating lives one property at a time.
From all over Trinidad and Tobago, Anil wrapping roti at lightning fast speed.
Sandra nailing every order in her hardware.
Lisa, who is in sync with style. There is no buffering at her boutique.
And Dr. Alex filling prescriptions with care. They're all part of the 5,000 strong businesses connected and growing with reliable, high-speed service from Amplia.
Now it's your turn.
Because with Amplia,
you're in good company. Amplia Business.
Since 1972, one sound has been living in the heart of Trinidad and Tobago, the longest running radio station in the nation.
We're your holiday soundtrack, whether it's on your day off,
long drives, or house lines.
We are always sweet.
This is music with meaning, music with memories.
Music that feels like home.
And it's not just the songs, it's the voices you trust, personalities you've grown with.
Laughter that sounds familiar.
This isn't just radio, it's tradition.
It's memories.
It's part of who we are.
Sweet 100.1 FM, the rhythm of our identity, part of your family.
Always 100, got you on your way. Sweet 100.
Hi everyone, I'm Marissa Benin. Coming up, Jamaica, here we come. These women of vision are on a mission. Ride the waves and savor the flavor, otherwise known as spending quality time in Antigua and Barbuda. Fun times, plus the food that sets St. Kitts and Nevis apart, all available under one roof. Cue the entertainment and the food. It's Chinese Spring Festival time.
One year after a seismic political shift, Trinidad and Tobago's 2025 general election continues to reshape the national landscape. The United National Congress, led by Prime Minister Kamla Prasad-Bisesa, remains in government after its sweeping victory that ended a decade of PNM rule. The result, which was known before 10 p.m. on election night, stunned supporters and triggered immediate political fallout. Then opposition leader Prasad-Bisesa urged supporters not to become boastful or arrogant, warning that there was still a lot of work to do. The PNM, in a somber address from Balize House, acknowledged defeat. Now, a year into a UNC administration, political analysts say if a general election were held today, the UNC would again defeat the PNM. They point to what they describe as decisive governance, political discipline, and policy direction as key features of the government's first 12 months in office. We speak now with Dr. Mukesh Bastew, who has weighed in on this as well. Good morning, Dr. Bastew. Welcome back to TNT Today.
Hi, good morning. Good morning to all your viewers and listeners.
So, Dr. Bastew, take us back to April 28th, 2025. Now, given the political climate leading into that election, did the UNC victory surprise you, or was it a result that you saw building?
The week leading up to the general election, I was part of a team that conducted a poll. And the results of that poll, I mean, we talk about a week before the actual poll itself, we did find that there was a trend. The trend was shifting towards the UNC. However, that week before the election, the trend had indicated that the UNC would win, however, by a margin of 2 to 3 seats. And what transpired is that on the night of the election itself, as your introduction of it actually stated, the PNM had conceded by 10 o'clock of that night, which was quite surprising. So the final result of the election itself, that the UNC not only winning the election, but the margin of victory that it actually won. That was was surprising for me on that said night.
Dr. Basso, at what point, in your view, did it become clear that the PNM was in real trouble after 10 years in government?
I think when we look back at 2024, there were a number of, let's say, issues, both, let's say, on the crime front, on the economic front, that were clearly that the government were having difficulties. Even after winning the 2020 general elections, coming into the second term, Dr. Rowley's administration, we're seeing and we're sensing that there were certain degrees of difficulties. We can talk about 2020 if we take it in the COVID pandemic and the government's attempts and its strides that it made in trying to secure vaccines and then the health sector. But there were certain issues that continued to carry over from its first term, 15 to 20, and that was the economy and crime. And it became even much more evident as we came into 21 to around 2024. I think what was most startling was less than a year into its second term, the Dr. Rowley administration suffered significant losses in the THA election, moving from where the opposition in the THA assembly had 1 seat to moving to 6 seats, to having a hung assembly, and then readjusting the polling districts to create a larger assembly in Tobago, increasing the number from 12 to 15 electoral districts, even to lose 14-1 in that election. I think that was clearly significant because the party had retained the two constituencies in Tobago, which is Tobago East and West, and then we see less than a year later having suffered that electoral defeat in the THA elections. And we come forward to 2023, and then you look at the local government election results in Trinidad, which was also very telling at that point in time. So the trend electorally was that the governing PNM at the time was losing political grounds. But that was also coupled with other issues within the economy and society. High crime figures, especially the figure for 2024, country recorded its highest murder rate in its history. And then the economic issues, the deficits, the continuing years of deficits. And then you had the issues affecting what you call citizens' access to, let's say, foreign currency. All of these major economic, social issues were strains on what we call the governance issue that were in the public domain. And I think it all accumulated in January of 2025, coming to 2024, 2025, where we found an attempt to transition leadership of the government, like the leadership of the government, not leadership of the PNM political party. And that, I think, strained further. And the results we had in April of 2025 is very telling of that issues, both internal to the PNM politics and, let's say, externally within the wider society and general public.
Now, Dr. Basto, you've pretty much performed a somewhat audit on what has happened over the past year and all of the accomplishments of the government. So what stands out to you now as the administration's biggest accomplishments during this first year?
I think the administration's biggest success would have been in the key issues that were plaguing the last administration on the economic front and on what they call the crime front. Although we have seen that the government's policies on crime have seen a reduction in the figures of crime in the last year, some would have said that it is primarily due to the use of the SOE. And there's debate whether the SOE is a crime-fighting tool or is it a stopgap measure and so forth. But if we take it into this context, the way that it was used, it has resulted in what we call certain decline in what we call the crime figures for the country. Then one can say from a societal point of view that we can take that as a win. Of course, we understand that is a temporary measure, but there have been attempts when we think within the 1 year for the government to actually deal with it. And I'm speaking primarily with the government's attempt to introduce the Zozo bill to deal with crime, a crime measure that has had some degree of success in what they call the Jamaican crime landscape. And the government attempt to replicate similar policies, crime policies that had success in Jamaica and basically transfer it here to Trinidad. Of course, at the legislative level, it did not get the support that it required from the Senate, and therefore the legislation basically failed. Now, there's proposal that in 1 year's time, the government may reintroduce the same legislation in the next session of Parliament. And that next session of Parliament will start on the 22nd of May of this year, next month. So there's a possibility we may re-see or revisit the legislation given what has happened so far. So on the crime statistics, we can say, yes, this has been one of the areas we can highlight. On the economic standpoint, on the economic front, we have seen attempts to actually to deal with certain decline in the economy, especially in our major, let's say, revenue earning and energy sector. We have seen attempts to actually reverse the declining trend that has occurred over the years. One would recall the closure of the Petrotrin refinery and the attempt by this administration to try to restart that refinery and to find a partner that can work together with the state in restarting the refinery, but also to restart the effect of it. Now, Petrotrin as a state entity, as an economic entity, has had significant impact on what we call the fence line communities in large areas of South Trinidad. The possibility of the restarting of the refinery and the economic activity related to the refinery can basically, let's say, kickstart economic activity, commercial activity in certain parts of what we call South and Central Trinidad. That is what we call the ripple effect it is going to have. The effect on it can also have in what they call the employment sector in both the state and also in the private sector. So these measures that we see that is ongoing. It is leading to some level of benefit, but we're only into the first year of this administration. One can only be able to measure the economic impact of it if we take it into context as we go into the second and third year of this administration.
Dr. Basto, when you look at the administration today compared with when they entered into office a year ago, do you believe now that TNT is heading in a more hopeful direction?
Well, when we think about the direction that we're heading, that each administration that has held the helm of power in Trinidad and Tobago is directed based on its party politics and also on a manifesto promise. What we have seen so far with this administration is the attempt to actually stick with its manifesto promises. And connect the manifesto promises that it had on the campaign trail to firm it into what you call actual policies to implement. What I can say so far is that the government has been able to actually take those manifesto promises, put it into tangible implementation policies, which can be used to measure the effectiveness of the administration. So if we take it and say, like, what were some of those campaign promises in the area of, let's say, labor reform, we have seen significant changes in what they call labor reform. This as late last week, Friday, the Senate dealt with major pieces of legislation, a Pension and Severance Act and so forth, amendment to that piece of legislation. And these are significant. The wider society may not see it and may not be able to actually understand the full effect of it, but these are significant changes to advance the labor laws and also to protect what we call labor rights in our society and try to, let's say, keep the table sort of even and to allow the workers actually to benefit more from what we call disadvantages that may come as a result of companies shutting down, workers being displaced, and so forth. These pieces of legislation are significant, and I can highlight that because in this one-year period we have seen these measures actually taking place. Also, the commitment and campaign promise that the UNC had made to various trade unions that have aligned themselves prior to the election, lead up to the election, even after the election, having successfully settled a number of wage negotiations, and major trade unions have been able to actually enjoy certain benefits in the last 12 months. So as we move forward, we're going to see how these campaign promises that was made on the campaign trail in the lead up to the April 28th, 2025 general election, how have they manifested and how it become part of the political, economic, and social landscape as we move towards 2030.
Thank you very, very much for your contribution this morning, Dr. Basto, and we hope that you join us again on TNT Today.
Sure. Thank you so much.
All right, you're most welcome. Well, the time now, 6:32 a.m. That was another look at the year in review for the UNC government's first year in administration.
TTT weather with Zaina James, daily at 7 p.m.
Every client deserves expertise, integrity, and guidance they can trust. At Camino Realty International, we deliver integrated real estate solutions, sales, rentals, property management, and project development. Driven by excellence, transparency, and innovation, we protect value, create opportunity, and build lasting success. Because real estate isn't just about buildings. For more information on our services, log on to CaminoRealty.com or follow us on social media at Camino Realty TT. Camino Realty International, elevating lives one property at a time.
Talk City 91.1. Thought-provoking conversations, bold perspectives, voices you trust. Talk City 91.1. Bigger, bolder, and more powerful than ever before.
Yes, Talk City 91.1 FM.
A brand new era of Talk radio is here. With voices you know, trust, and respect. Get ready for an all-new lineup of the very best in talk. Andy Williams, Lennox Smith, Stephen Reese, Mr. X, Derek Charbodi, Roland Stewart, Sharon Farfan, Sudath Prasad, Heavy Duty, Alex Asing, Karen Francisco, Cherry-Leen Lewis, Short Pants, and more of the voices shaping the national conversation. From hard-hitting current affairs to real community issues, culture, politics, social development, and the stories that matter most to you. This is where Trinidad and Tobago comes to talk.
So I'll get right to on Talk City 91.1, where we're going to give you something new, something hot every day, Monday to Friday.
Listen on 91.1 FM and connect on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. Talk City 91.1. Your city, your voice.
I'm Renee Sion with another edition of Caribbean Week in Review.
More than 70 law enforcement officials from 11 Caribbean countries are in Port of Spain for a two-day U.S.-led workshop focused on tackling small arms trafficking across the region. With gun violence remaining a major security concern, the session brings together regional and international partners, including the ATF, CARICOM Impacts, and the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, to examine trafficking trends, investigative tools, and ways to strengthen cooperation. While joining me now to discuss this initiative are Demas Hain, Director of the International Law Enforcement Academy, San Salvador, and Commissioner of Police of Trinidad and Tobago, Alistair Guevara. Now, Demas Hain has served as Director since 2021. He joined the U.S. Foreign Service as a special agent in 2001 and has held major domestic and international security assignments, including in Baghdad, Guatemala City, and Copenhagen. Before his role, he served as Senior Special Assistant to the Director of the Diplomatic Security Service. A New York native, he holds a criminal justice degree from John Jay College of Criminal Justice and has received numerous honors for distinguished service. Good morning, gentlemen, and welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Pleasant, good morning.
So a very interesting conversation this morning, and it's all centered because of this workshop. So this workshop brings together law enforcement from 11 Caribbean countries. So what does that say about the scale of the firearms trafficking problem in the region today?
Well, I can start visiting here from ILEA San Salvador. We've been in business since 2005 at the International Law Enforcement Academy at San Salvador, and since opening our doors just over 20 years ago, we've had over 21,000 alumni graduate from ILEA programs, including 390 from Trinidad and Tobago, and over 3,000 from across the Caribbean region. The purpose of ILEA is, of course, to form a coalition committed to combating transnational organized crime and all of the threats to our shared threats to our security in our nation, our respective nations and communities. Obviously, as you mentioned, small arms trafficking continues to be a major threat to security across the entire region. And so the event that we're holding over the next couple of days is specifically designed to address ways to assist our international partners with combating that issue.
Yeah. Now, Commissioner, how critical is this international cooperation to TNT's fight against gun violence on the ground itself?
All right. As the director stated, we have been the recipients of training from ILEA since 2006, so almost from inception. I myself, a past student of ILEA in 2014, yes. They cover our huge range of topics, operational, tactical intelligence, and even strategic leadership, which is what I would have partaken in 2014. gun violence, not only in Trinidad but in the Caribbean, is a serious problem. We have actually statistical data for the past 10 years shows about 8,500 firearms being recovered from the streets of Trinidad and Tobago, and you could actually tell that every single year we recover over 600 firearms. Last year it was 676. So it continues to be a perennial problem, not only for Trinidad but for all other Caribbean states. Thus far we're at 185 for this year, and look at what period we are in. We've been partnering with the US and with ILEA and all the departments that form part of their teaching skills database and bank. The ATF, we have the Crime Gun Intelligence Unit, as formed in 2022. That has also been bearing a lot of fruit. So, we work hand in hand with all our international partners, and especially the training that we, the TTPS, receive from ILEA, it goes back into building our skills network in Trinidad.
Now, Director, what are the most concerning trends that you're seeing with small arms trafficking across the Caribbean?
Across the Caribbean, small arms trafficking, proliferation of small arms continues to be a major issue for our international partners. It's one that is certainly not going away, I think, and it's an issue that it can't be addressed locally. It's an issue that needs to be addressed and can only be addressed really through building the types of coalitions that the ILEA program builds amongst our international partners. And so for that reason, we're bringing together 11, as you mentioned, 11 different nations to discuss emerging trends, specifically those trends that our partners at the ATF and our international law enforcement partners are seeing throughout the region. They're going to discuss success stories, specific case studies, the latest tools and techniques to combat transnational organized crime and firearms trafficking, and of course opportunities for future cooperation and collaboration internationally.
Commissioner, tell us about this workshop from your perspective and how helpful this will be in the fight.
Well, it's interesting that, we get the perspective from 11 different nations in this workshop and how each of them use what is available to them, especially that we are given that we all operate within a similar space, and we come up with best practice, and we are guided by the experts, the ATF and the other departments, as to how they see it as an international level. Statistics shows over 95% of firearms trafficked into the Caribbean space is from the US. So, there is the E-Trace system that assists local law enforcement in getting information from the other side. So we actually have persons being extradited for particular offenses now as it comes to trafficking in firearms.
Yeah. I know that a part of this will also be crime gun technology as well. So tell us a little bit about that and how that type of forensic tracing will change the way that gun crimes are investigated in Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, intelligence obviously is a huge part of what we're going to be discussing over the next couple of days. We know that trafficking routes are extensive throughout the Caribbean and around the world. And these are specifically what the ATF will be discussing, these emerging trends, trafficking routes, and how to disrupt these trafficking routes.
Yeah. Commissioner, now, do you think that this level of coordination, the impact of this it will disrupt the gun supply routes into the Caribbean, and how long we will take to see the progress of this and the impact of this?
Well, I am hopeful that it will be an almost immediate impact on the scourge of gun trafficking in the Caribbean. But, we must be realistic in nature. They adapt. And as they adapt, we must also adapt. And this is one of the adaptation methods that we use. We cooperate, collaborate, and we network with each other so that we could discuss what we see as the various emerging trends.
Now tell us about the workshop itself now. Tell us the details of this workshop, if you can.
Certainly. So over the next couple of days, experts from the ATF, special agents, will be here to discuss, as I mentioned before, these emerging trends. Our international partners from 11 different nations and territories throughout the Caribbean will share their individual case studies and basically compare notes on what they are seeing in terms of how transnational criminal organizations are adapting to the countermeasures that we have in place, with the objective of seeking new ways to cooperate and collaborate, particularly in the space of sharing intelligence. The Commissioner mentioned the E-Trace system, which is a critical component of tracking down trafficking routes and where these weapons are coming from and weapon parts are coming from. These are among the several topics that they're going to be discussing.
Commissioner, can you expand on that point for us?
Most assuredly. So part of the system involves, let's start from the initial purchase. A straw purchaser may purchase weapons and smuggle it into a particular Caribbean country. Let's say Trinidad. They could use illegal or legal ports of entry. We found them in barrels, in shipping containers. They've actually done it through the back door, illegal ports of entry. When we recover a firearm, it goes through several different layers of testing. So you do a ballistics test, so we can actually get the striations on the rounds that were fired from the firearm. The firearm itself is then placed to get DNA as well as fingerprint examination from it, so we could extract that evidence. We then have the serial number. So some of them file the serial numbers off, but there are particular methods that we can utilize to raise that serial number even though it's filed off. Yes, it is. So all of these bits of information go into the E-Trace system, and it forms part of a larger database that could now be tracked throughout.
Well, gentlemen, now more than ever, this workshop will definitely be impactful. And I hope that, we see all the highlights coming out of this. I want to thank you very much. Any closing comments before we go?
I'd like to thank the Commissioner and the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service for hosting us here for this very important event. It's an honor to be here with all of you, and we're looking forward to the next couple of days.
Commissioner?
I'd like to thank the Director for choosing Trinidad to bring this very important workshop too, so that we can expose our officers to this vital tool or tools that they'll be given in order to continue the fight against crime.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us this morning on Trinidad and Tobago Today. Well, before we take a short break, just a note that the Ministry of Transport and Civil Aviation is advising the public that effective today, Tuesday, 28th April, the Point Fortin Licensing Office will no longer close between 12 p.m. and 1 p.m. Services will now be provided continuously from 8 to 4, Monday to Friday. Of course, you can get all that information on their social media pages and their website as well. We take a break and we come back with more.
Every client deserves expertise, integrity, and guidance they can trust. At Camino Realty International, we deliver integrated real estate solutions, sales, rentals, property management, and project development. Driven by excellence, transparency, and innovation, we protect value, create opportunity, and build lasting success. Because real estate isn't just about buildings. For more information on our services, log on to CaminoRealty.com or follow us on social media at Camino Realty TT. Camino Realty International, elevating lives one property at a time.
The plays that shake the arenas. The stories that move a nation. From football to cricket, track to tennis, every win, every rivalry, every headline. This is where Trinidad and Tobago come for sports.
TTT Sports. Committed, accurate, relevant.
visit of American streamer and content creator iShowSpeed to Trinidad and Tobago drew massive crowds, viral moments, and widespread discussion about the growing influence of the global streaming world and youth digital culture. Well, to help us unpack his impact, the reaction on the ground, and what it means for the local creative industry, we're joined by comedian and content creator Cass Ramsey. Good morning, Cass. How are you?
Hi, good morning. Good morning. Glad to be here.
All right. Well, you know, we've been seeing social media has been a buzz with the visit of iShowSpeed. And we saw a lot of young people running, literally running after this guy. You know, sometimes for the older ones like us, we may not fully understand the impact that all of this has had. And we really would love your expertise in this area. I saw you made a video recently just speaking about the impact of it. So for who didn't catch all the highlights, tell us exactly you know, what happened in this visit and how the youth were following him around.
Well, what happened was a streamer with millions of followers came to Trinidad. You know, a lot of the older generation may not understand now that these social media personalities are what in your day would have been like a Hollywood star. You know, these guys actually have more followers, more influence, I would say, even than some of the older Hollywood stars that you would know. So the same way you would have been really excited if a famous actor came to Trinidad. This is the impact that these guys have in this day and age using streaming.
You know, as you said, you know, it's just about understanding. It's about the age, that demographic. It's very different. So, Cass, what do you think this means for TNT culturally? Because he did put us on the map more than we have already been. And I believe he has 50-something million subscribers. And the streams, there were serious numbers with all of that. And then he did things like eating doubles. He was eating kurma. He was going around with Junior Lee and so many other people. So what does this mean for our culture and what he showcased for us on the internet?
Well, you see, we know that Trinidad has the best food. Even after traveling the world and coming back, you know, we love our food. But there are a lot of persons around the world that may not be able to try or hasn't been to Trinidad and Tobago to really taste authentic Trini food. But the looks that you saw when he took that bite of doubles, when he took a bite of that bacon shark, people around the world are seeing that and saying, you know what, I think I want to go to Trinidad to try these foods, you know? When it comes to when it comes to our culture, it was showcased in such an excellent way. I will say kudos to the team that put all of that together. My good friend Junior Lee, the host that was on the ground with him, they all did a really good job in just a couple of hours to showcase Trinidad and Tobago's culture in all aspects. You know, I see some people saying online, oh, why didn't take him to the pitch lake? Why didn't take him up on a mountain somewhere to see a river or a waterfall? But you have to remember, guys, that this is a live event. I don't think viewers will want to sit and watch somebody drive from Port of Spain down to Labrador to show the pitch lake, you know. So we just have to take all things into consideration when we are critiquing things that we don't know about.
Yeah, and they only had a few hours, I believe, to get all of this done. So we have to be realistic in that. You're absolutely right. You spoke about food. So I believe we've seen reports of similar reactions in other Caribbean countries. I think he's been asking for doubles in Grenada.
He has been. He has been. You know, our food is so impactful. Like we probably get accustomed to, you know, just waking up and having a doubles man on the corner. But doubles is such a unique taste in food, really specific to Trinidad and Tobago. I've seen other content creators from the US, from the UK after this stream talking about, hey, you know, I've heard about the crime in Trinidad, but boy, oh boy, I think I'm going to go just to try doubles. You know, this really has had a worldwide impact, and I think a lot of persons don't really understand how big streaming is. Streaming really grew after COVID. I think from the COVID period, streaming really took over to another level. And yeah, we really just have to be thankful that the team that put this together in short notice really got so many things showcased out of Trinidad and Tobago.
Now, you are a content creator as well, Cass. So what stood out to you about his interaction with the local talent in the creative space? So there were content creators there. There were also, lots of other people performing these, cultural things on the screen that you can see, the blue. So, I mean, it's a lot happening in a short space of time, but he was able to really highlight a lot of the local talent as well. So what does this mean for you and the creative space?
Hey, well, firstly, I think our local creatives should really understand the difference between our market here and the international market. It is very, very different. We in Trinidad, we would look at our numbers here and think that we are doing really well. But these guys are on a totally different level when it comes to reach. Some of our local guys may have been skipped in the entire process, and that's okay. This guy really doesn't know us down here in Trinidad and Tobago, so don't feel any type of way. And I see a lot of persons also saying, he skipped this one, he skipped that one, he don't know this person name, and that's fine. That's fine. That's the whole reason of him coming here, is to try and get to know our personalities in Trinidad and Tobago. I will say that he did showcase, of course, he was walking around with Junior Lee. He had a little thing with the other Kes the Illusionist. I see that up there right now, who was very impactful in the stream as well. Also, Certified Samson was on the stream. He did a race with Certified Samson. So seeing our local talent on a world stage like that is always beneficial.
Yeah. Well, we saw so many creators, local creators there as well. And we really love that for them. And I saw you in your video, you spoke about Junior Lee and his role in all of this and why he was, the best person for the job. And he did a really good job as well. So kudos to him. Yeah. Well, before we wrap up, what do you think will be the lasting impact of this visit, Cass?
I really do think that a lot of young persons would see streaming as something that is a good, viable thing to make money. In Trinidad and Tobago, we really push towards the classic job opportunities, try to get into the oil, try to be a doctor, a lawyer, or even a news presenter like yourself. But, there are other means and ways that you can earn a living. It doesn't always have to be the traditional route. I myself, being a content creator and promoter, I keep comedy shows. I do comedy shows and stuff. You can earn money and provide for yourself and your family using other things.
And also you can check out Cass's pages on social media. Thank you, Cass, for joining us this morning and for weighing in on this topic. Well, that's where we take a break for the news. Carries up next at 7 a.m. When we come back in the next hour, the show continues on TNT Today.
Women are a quiet strength the world leans on, the hands that holds everything together, and the heart that keeps on giving, even when they're tired. And it's time for us to celebrate that. I'm Yasha Mani, your host of Majestic Makeover, the series which uplifts and transforms the lives of everyday women who've carried so much for so long. In this season, we're looking for women like these, women who have endured, women who survive, women who keep on going, no matter what. A woman who's lost a loved one and finds the strength to go on. A survivor of crime who refused to be broken. A woman over 70 who gives to her family and the community every single day. A survivor of serious illness who continues to live with hope and courage. A physically challenged woman living fully with dignity and determination. These are the stories we want to honor. Do you know her? Nominate her. Let's celebrate her. Send us 2 brief paragraphs which briefly states who she is, your relationship to her, and why she deserves this journey. As well, send us your contact information. Send it to majesticmakeovertt@gmail.com. Because remember, every woman needs to feel majestic. Majestic Makeover Season 3, right here on TTT.
Good morning, this is your TTT News Update. I'm Carrie Roberts. Making the news at this time. Minister of Homeland Security Roger Alexander has pointed to years of administrative oversight as a key factor undermining police resources. Speaking on Talk City 91.1 FM on Monday, the minister said shortcomings in past administrative practices continue to hamper the present-day fight against crime.
The police service has been left with a debt that they cannot recover from for the next 13 years. I'm not asking you.
Wow.
For the next 13 years. Because persons were signing things and not paying attention to what they were signing. So when the little fine print came up, there are things that we are paying for that is rotting on the shelf. And how you could benefit from such a thing?
Speaking on a crime plan and measures, Minister Alexander noted that he believes harsh measures are necessary to neutralize criminal elements and protect the public.
Sometimes these measures are not always through the court of law.
Yes, right.
However, sometimes you need to not take the bull by the horn anymore, but remove the horn from the bull. So he'll no longer be harmful to anybody. And when he starts to kick, then you remove his feet. You see?
Yes,
and then eventually we can have beef. So let's sit and eat.
Oh.
You see? And I know sometimes there's a shadow understand what I just said, but that's all right. Sometimes we need to take harsh measures.
The minister stressed that the state cannot act alone, calling for a whole-of-government and whole-of-society approach, supported by targeted community-level interventions to effectively address crime. In more news, Minister of Labour, Small and Micro Enterprise Development, Leroy Batiste, has assured that the government is actively pursuing initiatives to expand sustainable and decent employment opportunities nationwide. He made the remarks while addressing the pilot entrepreneurial training program for the blind and visually impaired on Monday.
We cannot continue supporting the exploitation of persons with these make work programs, where you work at 10 days and then you have to fight up, hope someone call you again. We are trying to bring about decent jobs. That's the mandate of the International Labour Organization, which we have embraced as our mandate as a government.
Minister Batiste says the creation of decent jobs for citizens remains a top priority for the government. He noted that the employment rate is holding steady, adding that thousands of people have secured jobs since the government assumed office.
We have, in fact, by employment through the various ministries, close to 15,000 jobs would have been added just from the government employment, and then you have other persons in the private sector would have been employing persons. So that, yes, it is holding steady because we are working towards it.
The minister also underscored that persons with disabilities are fully included in the government's employment agenda, noting that initiatives are being designed to ensure equal access to job opportunities, skills training, and economic participation. On to some sport now. Trinidad and Tobago's powerlifters have been no strangers when it comes to tasting international success. In 2026, they are hoping to do the same when a 5-member contingent heads to Lithuania to compete in the IPF World Open Powerlifting Championships. One of the participants, who is no stranger to the event, is TNT's Zara Padilla, who is a Pan-American Regional Champions gold medalist and Commonwealth Championships silver medalist.
Extremely happy to actually reach and go back and maybe represent the country again. For Lithuania Games itself, knowing that I'm competing against some of the best in the world, I'm just grateful at least to be there again, and I'll hopefully place in the top 5 this time instead of top 10. And for the rest of the year, Commonwealth, we're going to get a gold.
Padilla, who is also a three-time women's national champion, has high hopes for this year's team.
So first time for Kezia and Dirise Allen, but being the first woman itself to actually represent the country last year and come back and repeat it again this year, along with a bigger team, it shows that the sport is growing in some form, and we have much more competitive athletes, including Joseph McDonough.
And that was your TDT News Update. I'm Carrie Roberts. When we come back, it's hour number 2 of Trinidad and Tobago Today.
The time is now. Right now. Right now. Right now. Right now. Right now. No, not that. Right now. Right now. All I need is one night. You're gonna have to splurge on it. All I need is one night. I wouldn't deaf on it. No, not that. Right now. All I need is one night. You're gonna have to splurge on it. All I need is one night. I wouldn't deaf on it. This is the new day.
A new sound, a new style, a new style, a new class. Next 99.1 FM, the next level of radio.
Right now.
Every client deserves expertise, integrity, and guidance they can trust. At Camino Realty International, we deliver integrated real estate solutions, sales, rentals, property management, and project development. Driven by excellence, transparency, and innovation, we protect value, create opportunity, and build lasting success. Because real estate isn't just about buildings. For more information on our services, log on to CaminoRealty.com or follow us on social media at Camino Realty TT. Camino Realty International, elevating lives one property at a time.
There are a number of risk factors for heart disease, so a lot of attention has to be put towards preventive cardiology. What can we do to reduce the burden due to all these risk factors? Hypertension, diabetes, cholesterol, you need to stop cigarette smoking, you gotta get people exercising.
Be viewing Caribbean Medical TV on this station.
If it matters to you, it matters to us. We report the news, real stories in real time. TTT News, nightly at 7. TTT News, committed, accurate, relevant.
Welcome back to Trinidad and Tobago Today on TTT. Good morning to you wherever you are. If you're streaming us live on YouTube or Facebook, thank you for being here. Well, 1 year after assuming office amid what many described as severe economic uncertainty, the current administration says it has been focused on one central mission: stabilizing the country, restoring confidence, and laying the groundwork for long-term recovery. From addressing inherited financial pressures and narrowing the fiscal deficit to renewed activity within the energy sector and a broader push toward economic diversification, the government has consistently maintained that its first year has been about rebuilding with purpose and creating a more sustainable path forward. Well, Prime Minister Kamla Prasad Bisesa has already signaled that 2026 must now be a year of rebuilding, recovery, and delivery, with ministries being tasked to produce measurable economic outcomes and tangible benefits for citizens. But just how far has the country come in that process? And are the early signs pointing Trinidad and Tobago in the right direction? Well, I sat down with economist Dr. Indira Sajiwan to take a closer look at the government's first day of economic management and the road ahead. Let me start with this. Just how serious was the situation the government inherited when it came into office?
Well, I think the situation was quite dire. Okay, Virmala, I mean, if we look at this, the stats really bears it out, right? 2025, the previous administration would have run a budget with a deficit of close to $10 billion, 5.5% of GDP. Our debt to GDP ratio was in the vicinity of about 84%. We had a foreign exchange crisis. Employment generation was at an all-time low. And the very Prime Minister himself at the time told us, with our dragon, our cuckoo cock, was that the terminology that he used, basically saying to us that, listen, if dragon does not dance, this country is in dire straits. And that is the context in which a new administration came into office in April of 2025. So I think there was a lot for them to try to analyze, to take stock of when they came into office, because was wanting to be on the outside and knowing intuitively that it was a bad situation you're going into. But obviously it's another story when you then get into office and you see these things. You know, people like myself, for example, we were long calling on the previous administration, you know, outside of Dragon, what? What is the alternative? What are the alternative pathways to getting us back on a footing of growth? And I mean, I didn't even mention the fact that over the 10 years that the PNM governed the country, we were in negative growth for a 10-year period, with the exception of 1 year, 2022, as a consequence of the little positive blip that took place as a consequence of the Russian-Ukraine war. So that really is the context in which a new administration came into office.
And of course, they inherited hidden liabilities and debt obligations. So how significant was all of this being uncovered?
Well, I think they're still uncovering. It's, 1 year is not a long time. We've heard a lot of it. We've heard a lot about corruption, mismanagement, overspend. We, in multiple sectors, ranging from at the very basic in terms of CPEP and URP, moving straight on to the very top in terms of large contract awards, etc. But to me, the more concerning issue is the fact that so many expenditure was facilitated through borrowing, through simply deferral of payments. I mean, if we talk to contractors, if you talk to the manufacturing sector, in terms of non-payment to contractors, in terms of non-payment of VAT to the manufacturing sector, that really stifles them. These things really paint the picture in terms of a lot of expenditure that took place without ensuring that there was the money in order to be able to repay it. And that is borne out by the fact that this government went out in the international market for a $1 billion bond. Most of that is simply for debt rescheduling, which is to repay debt. So there's very little money that is left out of that with $1 billion US dollars, which is approximately 7 billion TT dollars that the UNC government would have just secured, and that has gone simply to push the indebtedness into the future, not allowing it to have that money to be able to engage in important expenditure like reform of the health sector, reform of education, so it's social sector, places that we really need money, diversification and growing the alternative sectors, that money is simply not available. And to a large extent, I would say that this administration has spent at least the first 6 months in crisis management, trying to get a handle on where things are financially, and then trying to see how best they could put the country on a footing of towards stability, even before we could talk about growth. I think that has been its focus. And that is why some of the measures, for example, in the budget, some people are not happy with because it's increased taxation. But the bottom line is, and I've said this repeatedly, the Prime Minister, the Minister of Finance don't have a money tree. And if you inherit a situation where the pattern of expenditure over income has been one that the former exceeds the latter over a 10-year period, then you have to make some very hard decisions if you are to ensure that the economy remains stable. Because, of course, the Minister of Finance had the option. He could have come in and slashed the expenditure. He could have said, listen, we simply don't have the money, and he could move the expenditure from the 59, almost $60 billion that he presented in his budget to, let's say, in line with his proposed income flow, which is about $55 billion. That would have been taking out almost $5 billion of expenditure. Where would that have come from? What would have had to take the cut? Crime fighting, and we know where that is. We can afford that. Healthcare, education, social services. Where would the cut have come from? So that it has not been an easy task. I do not envy the Minister of Finance or the Prime Minister, given the hand that he and the government as a whole was dealt with. So I would say crisis management almost on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-by-month basis, trying to make sure that there is the money to be allocated to the critical issues. And there are things that were identified in the budget, and we have not heard the rollout of the expenditure. And I think by and large it's simply because the money is not there. So the intent is there, the willingness is there, but that the resources, the financial resources, is simply not there to roll it out in the kind of way that the government would have. And when I talk about the issue of stability, I think that when you compare this administration 1 year in office with the former administration 10 years in office, I think really a lot has been done in terms of stabilizing the short term. Now, your viewers will appreciate that we've said this over and over. This economy is dependent on the energy sector. The energy sector in its heyday, this would have been like 2014, 2015, contributed 60% to government revenue. So 60% of the annual budget that the government would have to spend would have come from the energy sector. In the 2026 budget, only about 22% of that was projected to come from the energy sector. Because between 2014 and now, we have seen a continuous decline in the energy sector because of natural gas curtailment. Plants on the estate have moved from operating at 100% to operating down to 60%. We've seen plant closure, some methanol plants. We've seen I don't want to say mothballing, but certainly the commissioning of LNG-1. These are some major plants. We know what happened with Yara and what happened with Methanex. I mean, there are some serious issues that happen in terms of contraction of that energy sector. And the lifeblood of that sector is natural gas. And the PNM administration, when you ask the question, where is the gas going to come from, the only answer we got was from the Dragon. And this is why when the OFAC license was cancelled, that was such a blow to us. But there was no alternative being offered. The UNC government came into office, and immediately we heard of ExxonMobil coming in with a potential $22 billion in investment. That is in oil, not in gas. So they are currently just at the early stages of that. We are hopeful that if they do find oil, and the likelihood appears to be strong, then that could see our supply of oil, which today is about 50,000 barrels per day as compared to over a couple hundred barrels per day in its heyday, so that we could see a shore up potentially of that. But it is investment. So this money is being spent right now by ExxonMobil. So tick for government happened very quickly. Then we saw that some of the gas sources started to come, small ones, but started to come on the market, which obviously shore up the supply of natural gas. great things. But now we are hearing about the Manatee field that, again, is going to, by 2027, 2028, that's going to come on stream. That's going to bring gas into the system. That will, I think, take us in the vicinity of close to 3,000, the terminology slips me this minute, but insofar as to say right now we are right now just over half of the supply of natural gas that we need, and that will probably take us to about 2/3. And then because of the decision that the Prime Minister made with respect to her relationship with the United States, which she came into a lot of very heavy criticism for, because of that relationship, Dragon is potentially dancing for us again. There's a strong, very strong likelihood, by all accounts from the experts in the industry that I have spoken to, that signal that Dragon will dance. So 2028, 2030 looks like a very good period for us for the inflow of natural gas that we will shore up the short term. This government has also awarded, I think, 2 contracts to some Chinese investors for exploration of natural gas. And they have put out another bid round again. So the energy sector looks like a lot of effort has been put in there, very quick effort by this administration to once again revitalize the energy sector as we know it, based on oil and based on gas. And in the short run, that augurs very well for us. What we do with the money that we get from it, though, will really speak to how the extent to which the government understands that that is not a long-term solution for us. That is the short-term, keeping us afloat, keeping us going. And the real challenge is using those resources in a way to diversify the economy and ensure that we have sectors other than traditional energy being the sources from which we generate jobs, generate employment, generate revenues to government. Because I'm a broken record and saying that the energy sector, even in its heyday, only employed 3% of the country's labor force. 3% out of 600,000 persons. That's just about 30,000 individuals. Successive governments over time, they've used that money in order to generate employment through a very large public service. The entire state enterprises network through works like programs such as OJT, CPEP, URP. That money has allowed that to happen, but it's not a sustainable model. And we have seen the insustainability of that model, especially over the last few years. So what we want is we want the investment to be put in place, and we want the signals to be spent that tourism, non-energy manufacturing, agro-processing, primary agriculture, those are the areas, AI, the new technologies of the world, where our young people will now be incentivized to go into. That's where we want the money to go into. We want reform of the education system in order to prepare our human capital for a new world, a world in which AI is key. And that is a very important element that we need to factor in as we look at how we position the country. Now, early on, the government did signal very strong that non-energy diversification was going to be a significant focus of this administration. But this is not the first time we've heard that. We've heard it every time the energy sector declines. Governments get all excited about non-energy diversification. But once things start to happen, like right now, the war in between the US, Israel, and Iran has pushed the price of oil from it was hovering like around $64 per barrel before the war broke out, less than what we budgeted for, close to $75 per barrel. It reached over $100, $110 per barrel. It's now just under $100 per barrel, but all the experts are saying that they anticipate that certainly for the rest of this year, going into next year, that the price of oil is going to be relatively high. The price of gas, the price of petrochemicals follow the price of oil. So that what that means is that on the positive side, it means that we could benefit from getting more income from selling the same amount of oil and gas and petrochemicals, but on the downside, government could potentially, and I use my words very carefully, could potentially become complacent in terms of seeing, well, things are going great. We're seeing Dragon, Manatee, Lauren, which is the other part of the Manatee project. And when you look at that in terms of the inflow of gas that will come through our system, it's a really an attractive amount. And therefore, we could get complacent and say, okay, things are great, everything's going to be okay. But the world is changing very, very rapidly. And the rate at which the world is changing signals to us that there are many challenges to economies that are dependent on fossil fuel energy.
Well, what you're seeing here is when I sat down with economist Dr. Indira Sajiwan last week, and she took a closer look at the government's first year of economic management and the road ahead. We take a break, and when we come back, that continues.
Since 1972, one sound has been living in the heart of Trinidad and Tobago, the longest running radio station in the nation.
We're your holiday soundtrack, whether it's on your day off, long drives, or house lives. We are always sweet.
This is music with meaning, music with memories.
Music that feels like home.
And it's not just the songs, it's the voices you trust, personalities you've grown with.
Laughter that sounds familiar. This isn't just radio, it's tradition. It's memories. It's part of who we are.
Sweet 100.1 FM, the rhythm of our identity, part of your family.
Always 100, got you on your way. Sweet 100, sweet 100.
Whatever the skies bring, stay prepared with TTT Weather. Committed, accurate, relevant.
I'm Jamila Bannister, host of the Socially Safe podcast, the new TTPS podcast where we share real stories, teach real lessons, and create real impact. From online safety and youth crime to community policing and personal responsibility, we go beyond the headlines and talk about what's happening in our communities with the officers and experts who are on the front lines. Because safety starts with awareness, conversation, and action. Tune in to the Socially Safe podcast on the TTPS YouTube channel, listen on Apple Podcasts, and on Spotify. Don't miss it.
Watch on TTT, Mondays, 6 p.m., Tuesdays, 1:10 p.m.
TTT News, every night at 7. TTT News, committed, accurate, relevant.
Hi everyone, I'm Marissa Benin. Coming up, Jamaica, here we come. These women of vision are on a mission. Ride the waves and savor the flavor, otherwise known as spending quality time in Antigua and Barbuda. Fun times, plus the food that sets St. Kitts and Nevis apart, all available under one roof. Cue the entertainment and the food. It's Chinese Spring Festival time.
Well, in the second part of our discussion, economist Dr. Indira Sajiwan weighs in further on the government's economic direction, the signs of progress already emerging, and the expectations for the months ahead.
I think there are the nuggets of it in play. What we need to see is that the movement from articulation to implementation is the key. So if I go back, for example, to the budget, that the only budget that the government read, it spoke a lot about non-energy diversification. It set some very ambitious targets. So for example, in terms of tourism, the budget spoke about $3 billion to target and to achieve a $3 billion investment in tourism over a 2-year period, where 1 year is now done. So I guess we will wait to hear where we stand with respect to achieving this objective, because there's 1 more year left for this $3 billion in investment. It also speaks to $9 billion in investment in the tourism sector over the next 5 years. So that is very, a very attractive target set. But it's easy to set targets. The other thing is rolling out in terms of implementation. With respect to the agriculture sector, the budget spoke to increasing the exports of agriculture and agro-processed goods from Trinidad and Tobago, increasing that by $1 billion over the 2026-27 period, and doubling that by 2028. Now, we can't just wish that into happening. We have to be putting in the mechanisms in place in order for that to happen. We need to be revamping and revitalizing our primary production in terms of agriculture, in terms of raw material production, ensuring that we are producing the volumes and at a scale in order to feed into agro-processing. We need to embrace and engage in new technologies, and the budget, in fact, did speak to about $800 million to be allocated in a targeted area of new agriculture, technology-based agriculture. I'm not sure where we are with respect to that. So I'm saying to you that certainly a lot has been articulated and put on stream. The revitalization plan, I refer to that as the hardware that is necessary for our long-term growth. Very, very noble and grand objectives. 129 projects, infrastructure projects spread throughout the main pockets of Trinidad and Tobago, and even within some of the rural areas. So for the first time, we are hearing of a plan that is taking the infrastructural development beyond just Port of Spain, beyond just those areas, but really spreading it through the country. That particular project is a 10-year project that proposes or targets the generation of between 50,000 to 72,000 jobs over that period. And if we can achieve just a percentage of that, Virmala, I think we would be really on our way to a good place. The Minister of Works, Minister Jillian John, put out, which she received, rather, I think, close to 1,000 expressions of interest with respect to the revitalization plan. She had indicated that the boots would be on the ground before the end of 2026. They are at the examination stage, I guess. So again, an update on that would tell us where we are, because that kind of investment in the first instance on the ground flips economic activity. And when, as the economist talks about a multiplier, so if you put $1 million into the economy and the multiplier is 3, that generates $3 million in economic activity. So I know we're not going to get in, I'm not in a position to get into the process in terms of the recently announced $3.4 billion that was in projects announced by the HDC. Now, it supports the thing about stabilization, moving from crisis to stabilization. So we're mid-year in terms of that, and if this administration is able to successfully inject 3.4 billion TT dollars in construction, that is going to be a major fillip for short-term economic activity. The construction sector is what we tend to look at as an indicator. When we're looking at the health of an economy, one of the first things we look at is construction. What's happening with construction? Over the last 2 years, construction has been on the decline. borrowing for investment has been on the decline. So that this kind of injection is what we need to happen. Now, the government did speak a lot about a lot of the investment for the revitalization plan coming from foreign direct investment or private sources. And that is very critical, and it is something that we have to be happy about. So government is not saying the state is going to go and enter into a lot of debt in order to engage in these investments, but we're looking for foreign investors to come in. We're looking for private investors to take the lead on these things. So, and there's probably a lot more we could talk about, but I think that I have identified under this administration some of the critical things that has been done in order to put the country on a pathway of growth. But again, I underscore the fact that the proof is in the pudding, and it really comes down to the issue of implementation and achieving the targets that you have set. I can speak to the issue of the yachting industry, which has been a pet peeve of mine for a very, very long time. 15 forms, international yachts coming into this country has had to fill out 15 forms in order to come here. They have stopped coming because it's too bureaucratic. Within this year, this administration has changed that to that one seamless form. And that is amazing. This is something that the sector has been calling for. I have been calling for on behalf of the sector for well over 30 years. And nothing has been done. And it's really just very bureaucratic, just, stroke of a pen. And it has been done. That is a foreign exchange earning industry. The yachts that come here are coming from abroad. They bring in foreign exchange. They're coming here potentially to stay for 6 months, live on their boats, do repairs on their boats, buy from our groceries and our restaurants and do our tours, etc. Spend money here, spend foreign exchange here. That's what we want. We want a lot more of that. The budget speaks to marinas and all kinds of things associated with the yachting industry. We await to see the rollout. So I will say the first year has been crisis management to stabilization. I think we still a ways from saying we're stable. We're still in a precarious place because the revenue inflows is at best meager. So that this administration does have some way before we can breathe. But Virmala, I look at the signs around me as an indicator of people's sense of confidence. If you go out in an evening, the restaurants are packed. If you go around to the food courts, etc., people are buying, people are spending. And that is an indication that there is some amount of confidence that is taking place in the economy right now, that things are going to get better. I want to say, though, that 2026 is going to continue to be a year in which things are going to be tight. There is no magic bullet. Unfortunately, the government can't wave a magic wand and undo all that has been or that has happened. Some within our control, some outside of our control, to bring us to where we are at. Patience is required. Patience is required from all of us in order to be able to get to where we want to go. And I want to go on record to say that with respect to the 10% wage increase, the labor movement is no longer an actor on the side negotiating and fighting with government. They're part of the government. They're sitting around the table. And therefore, it must bring a different kind of approach to the issue of this 10%. And it must work with the government to ensure that the payment, which is already committed, is done in a way that does not erode the positive things that have been done so far, but supports it. So finding creative ways then to make those payments in a way that doesn't increase the debt burden of the state and by extension the debt burden of you and me, of the country, I think is something that I hope good sense will prevail on that.
Yeah. So finally, Dr. Sajiwan, in your view, is the economy moving in the right direction?
I think it is. I think the one fly in the ointment continues to be crime. And I mean, yes, between yesterday and today, you know, we woke up to some stories that are very frightening, even more frightening than we have had to date. And that, I think, is something that really needs to be prioritized even more than it already has been. You know, the Prime Minister was very clear that her association with the United States since she came into office has been primarily about securing the country, securing our borders, securing us against the criminal element. But I feel that a lot more needs to be done because crime impacts everything. It impacts whether foreign investors will come here and put their money into the revitalization plan. It affects whether tourism will see the kind of growth that we want.
Thank you so much to Dr. Indira Sijiwan for sitting down with Trinidad and Tobago today to help us take a closer look at the government's first year of economic management and, of course, the road ahead. We take a break and we come back with more on TNT Today. Redefining Normal is up next.
The plays that shake the arenas. The stories that move a nation. From football to cricket, track to tennis, every win, every rivalry, every headline. This is where Trinidad and Tobago come for sports.
TTT Sports with Nasira Mohammed, daily at 7 p.m.
From all over Trinidad and Tobago, Anil wrapping roti at lightning fast speed.
Sandra nailing every order in her hardware.
Lisa, who is in sync with style. There is no buffering at her boutique.
And Dr. Alex filling prescriptions with care. They're all part of the 5,000 strong businesses connected and growing with reliable, high-speed service from Amplia.
Now it's your turn.
Because with Amplia,
you're in good company. Amplia Business.
I'm Jamila Bannister, host of the Socially Safe podcast, the new TTPS podcast where we share real stories, teach real lessons, and create real impact. From online safety and youth crime to community policing and personal responsibility, we go beyond the headlines and talk about what's happening in our communities with the officers and experts who are on the front lines. Because safety starts with awareness, conversation, and action. Tune in to the Socially Safe podcast on the TTPS YouTube channel, listen on Apple Podcasts, and on Spotify. Don't miss it.
Watch on TTT, Mondays, 6 p.m., Tuesdays, 1:10 p.m.
Ever wondered what happens before the lights come on? Before the crowd pours in? Before the magic hits the stage? This is your all-access pass. Sneak Peek with Junior K takes you behind the scenes of the biggest cultural moments and the hottest events across TNT. From the sound checks to the stage setups, from final rehearsals to exclusive interviews. If it's about to be big, we're already there. Catch Sneak Peek airing daily on TTT and relive every moment on all our social media platforms. Sneak Peek with Junior K, where the story starts before the spotlight.
On today's installation of Redefining Normal, we continue shining a light on stories of resilience, courage, and the power of perspective. Well, April is also recognized as Limb Loss and Limb Difference Awareness Month. And our host, Shamla Miraj, chats with self-advocate Chantel Hamilton, who shares what it truly means to thrive beyond limb loss. Over to you, Shamla.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Redefine Normal with me, Shamla. Today, I have Chantel Hamilton, and as Virmala indicated, this month is also Limb Loss Awareness Month. And Chantel showed resilience throughout her entire life with having clubfoot and underdeveloped left limb. And with that, she underwent an amputation as a child, and she's here to share her story of the journey and her success despite having these situations. So, good morning, Chantel. How are you?
Good morning, Shamla. Good morning, viewers. Thank you for having me this morning in honor of Limb Loss and Limb Difference Awareness Month. I am proud to share my journey, not just of loss, but of resilience, growth, and learning to rise every single time.
Awesome, and I must say that you are here from the beginning, right? So, Chantel,
Yes.
what was your childhood like growing up with an underdeveloped left limb and a right club foot?
My childhood was a mix of challenges and joy. From very early, I had to deal with surgeries as early as 8 months, discomfort in my limb, and learning to move differently from other children. But at the same time, I didn't allow that to define my happiness. I was active, playful, involved in school activities such as swimming, performing arts, being a part of my school's choir, for speaking, you name it. Chantel Hamilton showed up and showed out. I learned resilience at a young age, falling, getting back up, and continuing just like any other child, but just with a little more determination.
Okay. And at what age did you undergo the amputation of your right foot? And how did you cope with that decision as a child?
I underwent the amputation when I was about 8 years old, while I was in Standard 3 attending the Scarborough RC Primary. At the time, it was a difficult decision. It was a very difficult decision for my family, but it was necessary because of the constant pain I was experiencing. My mom, Marsha Thompson, along with my dad, who is now deceased, Kirby Hamilton, better known as Skenman, they allowed me to make the decision. They did not force it on me. They left it up to me to decide when I was ready. For me, I never defined it as a loss. Instead, I saw it as a step towards a more comfortable and fulfilling life. Particularly because I have always been an active person. Adjusting wasn't easy at first, I must say. However, with the support of my family, my grandparents, Carmen, Margaret, Edward, Kenneth, my great grandmother, Tama, uncles, cousins, my principal, who was Miss Hills at the time at Scarborough REC, my teachers, Miss Sampson, Miss Williams, Miss Rogers, Miss Shepherd, Miss Caraballo, Miss Wave, Miss Dillon, Miss London, Miss Irvin, Miss Joseph, and my very own determination, I learned to adapt and move forward.
I'm sure that during that period, you had some tough moments, right? Navigating this new life of them. How did you overcome them?
Some of my toughest moments were adjusting to daily activities, learning to walk again, dealing with the discomfort from the prosthetics, because of course, if you don't get the right fitting for your prosthetic limb, it causes a lot of pain. And sometimes thinking how others will perceive me. But I pushed through by focusing on what I could do. I leaned on my support system. Returning to school after my amputation was a moment I will never forget. Yeah, I was on crutches at the time, still adjusting and waiting to receive my prosthetic leg. But what stood out the most was the overwhelming love I received. My teachers, my classmates welcomed me back with open arms, surrounded me with encouragement and support. Instead of feeling limited, I felt uplifted and pushed myself to stay involved in school activities. One of my most memorable moments was jumping the skipping rope with my one leg. Yeah, while my classmates were cheering me on, and I realized that my strength was not defined by what I lost, but what I was capable of achieving.
You have so much positive energy, right? And in terms of like self-image, as a young woman, right? As a teenager and even a young adult, or how did you, having one less limb and being somebody with a disability, where did you get that self-image, in terms of, I guess, being so confident in yourself and doing these things? Where did that come out from?
Right. So my biggest support system has always been my family, schoolmates, my village. They stood by me through every surgery, every setback, every success, in addition to my teachers who played a very important role in my talents because I had a strong love. Well, I still have. But back then, I was really, really involved in performing arts. I also want to make special mention of my Scarborough Secondary School theatre arts teacher, Mrs. Alma Waldenhola, whose support and encouragement meant a great deal for me. Additionally, my mindset has been a powerful source of motivation, believing that I can still achieve great things, regardless of my challenges. Above all, trusting in the Most High God has been my foundation, giving me strength, peace, and encouragement to keep moving forward.
What I get from this is that it's who you have around you will
Yeah.
always support you in terms of confidence. So how do you define success? Because you're a successful young woman. And how has that definition evolved from the earlier years?
When I was younger, success meant doing well in school. Today, success means something much deeper. It's about growth for me, resilience, and being able to inspire others. It's about overcoming obstacles, staying true to myself, and making a positive impact in people's life, especially for those who are differently able.
Incredible. So what message would you like to share how others facing similar challenges?
My message is quite simple. No matter what life throws at you, get up and go again. Your circumstances does not define your potential. There will always be hard days, but don't stay down. Focus on your strengths, believe in yourself, and surround yourself with people who uplift you. You are capable of more than you think. Never let your challenges limit your dreams. Let this month not just be about awareness, but let it be about acceptance, inclusion, and understanding, because every person, regardless of ability, deserve the chance to rise and thrive. Thank you.
Chantal, and just to close, one other question. In terms of Tobago, how is accessibility like in Tobago? You're hearing me, Chantal? Chantal?
I'm hearing you now.
Yeah. So Chantal, we could always have a
Yes.
discussion after, but in terms, I would like to have you back in terms of to talk about accessibility in Tobago in general. Okay? So guys, I must say, awesome. So guys, with that being said, I want to say thank you to Chantal. It was a pleasure. You're an incredible young woman. And, I would definitely, as I mentioned, have you back to talk about accessibility in Tobago. So thank you so much for tuning in to this week's segment of Redefining Normal. As I always say, be good, do good. Until next week. Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much, Shamla Miraj, with Redefining Normal. Well, preparing you for the day ahead, we have now your weather update from Zaina James.
I am Zaina James with your weather update. A yellow level hazardous seas alert remains in effect until Wednesday as high-energy northeasterly swells continue to impact northern and northeastern coastlines. These conditions could produce large breakers, so marine interests are advised to exercise extreme caution, especially near shore and around high tide. Weather-wise for Tuesday, we are anticipating mostly sunny, breezy and slightly hazy conditions as a drier air mass remains in place. A few brief showers are possible, but no prolonged rainfall is expected. Temperatures will be hot, reaching around 33 degrees in Trinidad and 31 degrees in Tobago.
Thank you, Zaina. Well, in commemoration of Point Fortin Borough Day, let's take a look now at the story behind Point Fortin, long before it became a borough. Back then, Point Fortin was built on agriculture.
Before the rigs, Point Fortin was green. Very, very green. The land was once a quiet agricultural community made up of 3 great estates, La Fortune, Clifton Hill, and Adventure, where cocoa and coconut trees stretched across the coastline and into the hills. Coconut palms lined the shore, while cocoa trees grew inland under tall, immortal shade, rich, fertile, and full of life. But this wasn't a busy town. It was small, quiet, and hard. Only a few workers lived here, depending on the estates for everything. Their homes, their food, their survival. Imagine this. No roads, no quick trips in or out to reach Point Fortin. You had to come by sea. Fast forward to today, a highway links the world to Point Fortin. And even now, beneath this modern borough, there is a humble story that lives deep within its roots. History lives in places we pass every day. And right here in Point Fortin, the story continues. So take a moment, look a little closer, because there's always more to discover down in the borough.
Did you have your coffee this morning? Well, I don't know about you, but I've been switching to decaf. I've been having too many problems to sleep. And if you are drinking decaf, well, there are some benefits. A new study says that your daily cup may be just doing way more than just waking you up. And researchers have actually found that there is that benefit for decaf as well. So both regular and decaf coffee can help to improve your mood, lower your stress, and support your brain function. I don't know about you, but I definitely need all the help that I can get, especially with these early mornings. We thank you so much for being here each and every day, Monday to Friday, 6 to 8 on Trinidad and Tobago Today. Remember, everything that you see here, you can access just a little later on at TTT Live online. If you have anything you want to contribute to the show, all you have to do is email us at tttoday@ttt.co.tt and be part of the conversation that's shaping our nation. Trinidad and Tobago Today, news you can trust, and of course, the stories that matter. Well, keep your messages coming in via our social media platforms. It's always good to hear from you and read all of your comments. They always touch us, and thank you for your contributions as well. We get ready for the news at the top of the hour. We see you tomorrow where we do this all over again, 6 to 8. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Since 1972, one sound has been living in the heart of Trinidad and Tobago, the longest running radio station in the nation.
We're your holiday soundtrack, whether it's on your day off,
Long drives or house limes, we are always sweet.
This is music with meaning, music with memories.
Music that feels like home.
And it's not just the songs, it's the voices you trust, personalities you've grown with.
Laughter that sounds familiar.
This isn't just radio, it's tradition.
It's memories. It's part of who we are.
Sweet 100.1 FM, the rhythm of our identity, part of your family.
Always 100, guide you on your way. Sweet 100.
Ever wondered what happens before the lights come on? Before the crowd pours in? Before the magic hits the stage? This is your all-access pass. Sneak Peek with Junior K takes you behind the scenes of the biggest cultural moments and the hottest events across TNT. From the sound checks to the stage setups, from final rehearsals to exclusive interviews. If it's about to be big, we're already there. Catch Sneak Peek airing daily on TTT and relive every moment on all our social media platforms. Sneak Peek with Junior K, where the story starts before the spotlight.
When it matters, we're there, reporting the news as it happens, because your world can't wait. TTT News, nightly at 7. TTT News, committed, accurate, relevant.
Good morning, this is your TTT News Update. I'm Carrie Roberts. Making the news at this time. 12 months into the governance of the United National Congress, there have been significant developments, particularly in the areas of crime and the economy. Political scientist Mokesh Basdeo examined indicators of the party's performance, noting that in terms of crime, there has been a measurable reduction.
I think the administration's biggest success would have been in the key issues that were plaguing the last administration on the economic front and on what they call the crime front. Although we have seen that the government's policies on crime have seen a reduction in the figures of crime in the last year, some would have said that it is primarily due to the use of the SOE. And there's debate whether the SOE is a crime-fighting tool or is it a stopgap measure and so forth.
Dr. Basdeo said that notwithstanding this, the manner in which the state of emergency was executed led to reduction in crime. He added that to maintain these gains, the previously defeated Zones of Special Operations, or ZOSO legislation, may be reintroduced.
There's a proposal that in 1 year's time the government may reintroduce the same legislation in the next session of Parliament. And that next session of Parliament will start on the 22nd of May of this year, next month. So there's a possibility we may re-see or revisit the legislation given what has happened so far. So on the crime statistics, we can say, yes, this has been one of the areas we can highlight.
Dr. Basdeo said that initiatives aimed at boosting economic well-being, particularly those centered around the Petrotrin refinery, show strong potential.
The possibility of the restarting of the refinery and the economic activity related to the refinery can basically, let's say, kickstart economic activity, commercial activity in certain parts of what we call South and Central Trinidad.
He also noted that labor initiatives have been a key area of success, including the strengthening of laws to protect employees and the successful settlement of wage negotiations. Alcoholics Anonymous Trinidad and Tobago Recovery Unit service is marking 70 years of providing support to individuals and families impacted by alcoholism. According to Class A non-alcoholic trustee Shona Huggins, public perceptions of the program have evolved significantly over the years as conversations surrounding mental health and overall well-being have gained greater acceptance.
In my experience, the public is increasingly open to the message of AA, as conversations around mental health, addiction, alcoholism, and well-being become more normalized. There are still opportunities to deepen the understanding and reduce stigma. Many people still hold misconceptions around its approach.
A participant of the program shared how the community has helped him in his recovery.
Coming into Alcoholics Anonymous and the love the members have shared with me, they give me hope. And I sense a sense of feeling and belongings to something that I never had before in my life, that love that is shared with me, that once I was in the dark corner of my life, they give me hope, they give me a share light that there's a way, a beautiful way of living.
Individuals seeking support for alcoholism are encouraged to contact Alcoholics Anonymous Trinidad and Tobago at 229-2288 to begin the journey to recovery. And in some sport now, Trinidad and Tobago Red Force have taken control against the Leeward Islands Hurricanes, posting an imposing 522-for-9 declared, led by a magnificent double century from Joshua Da Silva. The Silver top scored with 220 off 304 balls, anchoring the Red Force innings across 429 minutes at the crease. Amir Jangu provided solid support with 83, while Jason Mohammed chipped in with 47. Kareem Agor was the pick of the Leeward Islands bowlers, claiming 4 wickets for 88 runs. In reply, the Hurricanes are in early trouble, reduced to 88 for 4 after 25 overs. Kareem Agor is the lone resistance at the crease, unbeaten on 60. Anderson Phillip leads the attack for TNT with 2 wickets, while Carey Pear has been the most economical, conceding just 5 runs from 8 overs. And that was your TDT News Update. I'm Carrie Roberts. From all of us here to you, have a great day.
This is TTT. Live for local.